Hi everyone, this is daveac and this is my vblog 170 for Friday the 21st of October 2011, and it's a little bit of a take two. Yes, it's tech wine all over again. Take two, in other words. And I think I'm being influenced somewhat by a TV show here in the UK called Strictly Come Dancing. I think in America it's called Dancing with the Stars. But here in the UK, it's Strictly Come Dancing, and they have the Take Two, which is a daily programme during the week, talking about how the dancers are progressing. Well, today's episode is very similar to last week's vlog 169, where I did tech and wine. No classical music, no book, no DVD, but lots of little things to discuss, all in under 15 minutes, most definitely with a wine at the end. So before I just start on the main thing, let me just give some further information. It's a sort of feedback. And thank you, Tim. That's Tim from Tim's Take On. Last week I was talking about some difficulties I'd had about the BBC iPlayer. Now we're talking about here in the UK, the BBC iPlayer is a way of using catch-up TV for the BBC channels. And there is a desktop version of that. You can actually stream video in a browser, but the desktop version allows you to download slightly higher quality video and watch them at your leisure. Well, when Adobe Air released their latest update to version 3, my desktop BBC iPlayer stopped working. And the solution I found was to roll back to version 2.7 of Adobe Air. And I didn't, when I mentioned it, have the site and Tim reminded me it's oldversion.com, and that site is really worth looking at for there may be some issues that you have and you need to go back to an older version of certain software. So oldversion.com. Well, let's go back to the podcasting news. Let's talk, of course, about the Cult and Collective podcast. Busy as usual. The Sunday that's just gone, 16th of October, we were talking about Doctor Who Series 6. We were doing our series review. And the show went for 2 hours 50 minutes. Hope you'll give it a listen. It's on iTunes, of course. Find it at cultdom.com or indeed on our TalkShoe page, 54821. We record them live every Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And of course, last Sunday we did our total review of Series 6 of Doctor Who. And then midweek, we put up another one of our commentaries. Now, we've moved away from Doctor Who, and we are doing so for a few weeks as we get towards Christmas. And we have chosen to go back to a series that was on our TVs in the UK in 2006. And that is the UK version of Life on Mars. So we've done our first commentary on episode 1. The idea is, with your official copy of Life on Mars, you watch that with the volume turned not all the way down. You want to hear some of it, but so you can hear us talking as well. And although our commentaries is suitable for all ages to listen to, I should just mention, of course, that Life on Mars itself does contain swearing and probably has a 15 age group. But I hope that we'll be covering Series 1 of Life on Mars in these ongoing weeks. And well, that's about it really. We've got next Sunday the Sarah Jane Adventures. This is reviewing the truncated final series, Series 5, because of course of the sad death of Elizabeth Sladen. So it's only 3 stories, 6 episodes, and we'll be talking about on Sunday the 23rd. Okay, that's a little bit of podcasting news. Let's just mention a little wine news. Just to mention, of course, that I'm doing my weekly wine podcast now. I've done 8 of them in all. The most recent one I did the Tuesday that's just gone. I do it every Tuesday evening at 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. That's 10 p.m. here in the UK, and it's on the TalkShoe call 112272. And the most recent one was episode 8 on health and wine. And of course that is also available on iTunes. Hope you'll give that a listen. Okay, let's jump back to tech. One of the firms that I'm always following is one of the tech firms here in the UK called ARM. Now, ARM don't actually make anything. They're intellectual developers of software and that. They design chips for other usages, for other people to actually fabricate. And their latest development, of course, most of the ARM chips are now in mobile phones. Sort of 90% of mobile phones have at least one ARM chip in them. And they brought out a new hybrid chip. This is going to be a chip that they call Big Little. It will have a Cortex A7 core and a Cortex 15 core on the one chip. And the idea being is when you're using your phone for fairly ordinary, standard, simple email, the smaller of those does the work, and it uses very low battery power. It's taken to a very small fabrication, 0.22 nanometers or something, 22 nanometers I think, and that is a sixth of the size of the current chips. And then it has the more powerful chip on board for when you're streaming video or doing something more power demanding with your mobile phone. But the idea is that it should mean the best of both worlds. And let's do another tech. Another big UK or European piece of news, should I say, is that the first two satellites in the Galileo satellite navigation system have been launched, and this is going to be hopefully a rival system to the American sat-navs that are up in the sky. Won't get completed or usable maybe even until 2015, but it should be more precise with very accurate atomic clocks on board that will allow Europe to be able to compete with America. And of course, a lot of industries now depend on satellite navigation. So hopefully it will do an awful lot for the European market. So really interesting high tech that was. Let's go back to something that's not really tech. It's certainly not wine, but it's something that I'm interested in. It's almost science fiction meets wine, and that is to say that the Hitchhiker's Guide, that's H2G2, has just been relaunched. The BBC were running it a number of months ago, and then it closed. Anyway, it has now been re-established, so that is H2G2.com. And if you're a member of the old BBC one, you can validate, I think, your old identity on that, or you can sign up new for the new Hitchhiker's Guide page. Lots of interesting stuff there, of course. Okay, before we go back to any more tech and wine, I just want to give one little sporting thing, and that is just to say that very pleased that Andy Murray has now got overtaken Federer in the world rankings in tennis, and he's now ranked number 3 in the world. And I think that's one place higher than Tim Henman ever got. I think Tim Henman reached the 4th in the world. So well done, Andy Murray. So that's good. Right, let's go on to how the minutes go, David. Gosh, nearly 9 minutes already. Let's go to some wine news. Well, you may have heard me talk about Naked Wines. This is an online service called Naked Wines because you buy the wines directly from and cut out the middlemen. You you go to the online site, and there are batches of wine that you can buy that are imported directly from the wine maker. Well, they've launched a sort of secondary channel or a secondary site, and it's called Wine Demon. So if you go to winedemon.com, and you'll find it there. And they also have a Facebook friend page. Let me just have a look, and that is obviously www.facebook.com/winedemon, and that of course is without any space in that. Just let me I was just checking that Wine Demon is in fact .com and not .co.uk, but it is really perhaps of more interest to people here in the UK. It's a place to find out all about good wines, where to buy, recommendations from other wine drinkers, and they're not just Naked wines, they're wines that might come from your local supermarket. So that's Wine Demon. It's in beta at the moment. Most people are invited to join, but if you do go to it from the Facebook page, you can apply to join it. So hopefully that will get a good send-off. So that is good. Let me have a look. How's the time? 10.5 minutes, David. I'm just going to very quickly look along my links, and I think I've covered them all. Isn't that brilliant? Oh, let's just do one more little quick wine-related thing. Don't forget, as well as my daveac Twitter, I have a Twitter page, Big and Fruity, and that's in support of the Big and Fruity Wine Podcast. Well, there we are, 11 minutes exactly. Let's have a look at the wine, David. And here it is. Now, I don't know how I'm going to pronounce this, but if that focuses for you, it's Zilzie. There we are. Zilzie, Zilzie, 2009, Shiraz and Voniga. I always pronounce that. Never know whether I'm pronouncing it correctly. Freeze frame. And it's 14% by alcohol at South East Australia. It's been poured out for a good half hour. Yes, I poured a generous measure because it's now 9 o'clock in the evening. And we've got bags of fruit coming off this, really have. And it's actually, that's hard to identify. It's more of an amalgam of different fruits. Predominantly, I suppose, a red berry coming off it. Let's have a little sip. That's intense. That is rather intense. Lots and lots of fruit. Getting quite a little bit of tannins on that. And what else is that there? It's not pepper, although I suppose it could be. It's a sort of I'm slightly at a loss to describe that. Let me read what it says. Let's do a little cheat. This vibrant and deliciously juicy layers of plum, raspberries and a splash of apricot are enhanced by warm vanilla pod highlights, toasty oak and fine-grained tannins. Now it may be, it's that fruit, it's the not the Shiraz, it's the Voniga in it, I think, that's adding those different layers to it. Let me have another taste. It's definitely different than having a 100% Shiraz. There are these other layers underneath that, to my palate, are slightly confused. It's one of those where you're not sure whether it's not quite tasting how you expect it to taste, or whether there's another element in there. And I think that might just have to warm up a little bit more. It's not particularly warm here tonight. And I'm going to reserve judgment on that. It was a reduced price. It's I think it was £6.80 in Tesco's, and I like it, but because it says Shiraz on it, and I've got a specific idea of how a nice Shiraz tastes with those peppery notes and so on, and the tannins. This just has that other element. Maybe that's that apricot we're talking about. Maybe it's that vanilla. I don't think it's pepper in this, but I'll tell you what, we'll have another taste. I know it. It's like when you're if I had 3 bottles of Shiraz and I had this one, I would think this was slightly off taste. And I don't mean by that badly tasting, but there's just another element in there that I'm finding just makes me think, are you sure this is a Shiraz? I'd like to know actually what percentage it is of the 2 grapes. I've got a feeling it's at least a good 15% that isn't Shiraz. Anyway, enough of that wittering, Davey. We're at the end, so hope to get back a little bit more on track next week. And don't forget to watch out for the Cult and Collective podcast. Try and join us live Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on TalkShoe ID 54821. We're talking and saying a sad farewell to the Sarah Jane Adventures. And with that, catch you next week. Thanks for watching. Bye, everyone.